Why does America keep coming back to the Middle East? Is it about oil? Is it about freedom? Or is it something deeper? A fear, a threat, a deal gone bad. From deserts to dictators, from Cold War chessboards to drone strikes, this is not just a story of America in the Middle East. It's the story of betrayal, power, and a century of consequences. At the start of the 20th century, the Middle East was not yet a battlefield for superpowers. It was a tapestry of empires, tribes, and religions. Under Ottoman rule, the region functioned with local autonomy. Oil was unknown to most, and few outsiders cared about the deserts of Arabia or the mountains of Persia. Meanwhile, America was booming. Cities like New York and Chicago were rising symbols of industrial might. But its foreign policy was still isolationist. The U.S. avoided entanglements in European wars, let alone the complexities of Arab politics. Yet, in the quiet corners of diplomacy and commerce, American companies and missionaries were already laying seeds in the region, opening schools, building hospitals, and scouting for opportunities. World War I changed everything. As the Ottomans sided with Germany, Britain and France plotted how to divide the region after victory. The 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement, a secret colonial deal, promised slices of the Middle East to each power, completely disregarding the people living there. At the same time, Britain made contradictory promises, supporting Arab independence while also vowing a Jewish homeland in Palestine through the Balfour Declaration. These double deals would sow a century of mistrust. America entered the war late, not as a colonizer, but as an emerging power. President Wilson talked of self-determination, but his ideals clashed with Europe's hunger for empire. After the war, American oil companies began to see opportunity. The vast reserves beneath Arab lands were becoming more valuable than gold, and America wanted in. The interwar period reshaped the Middle East, not through war, but through business. In 1932, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was born under Ibn Saud, a tribal leader who unified Arabia by force, faith, and family ties. Just 6 years later, in 1938, oil was discovered in Dhahran. This wasn't just any oil discovery. It was the beginning of one of the most lucrative and enduring alliances in modern history: America and Saudi Arabia. The CIA helped orchestrate a coup in Iran, removing the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh after he nationalized oil. The Shah was reinstalled, a dictator friendly to the West. In 1956, the Suez Crisis erupted when Egypt's President Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal. Britain, France, and Israel invaded, but the US, seeking stability, forced them to back off. It marked a new reality. America was now the dominant Western power in the Middle East. Across the region, America funded kings, sheikhs, and generals, not because they were democratic, but because they were anti-communist. Whether in Jordan, Lebanon, or Turkey, the message was clear. The 1970s cracked the facade of stability. Two wars changed everything. First, the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Egypt and Syria attacked Israel on its holiest day. With Israel on the brink, the US airlifted massive military aid. In retaliation, Arab oil producers, led by Saudi Arabia, imposed an oil embargo. Overnight, oil prices quadrupled. Lines formed at American gas stations. The message was clear: support Israel. Pay the price. Meanwhile, American support for Israel alienated much of the Arab world. Radical movements surged. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat rose to global prominence, demanding a homeland. In 1975, Saudi King Faisal was assassinated by his own nephew. Some whispered it was about modernization, others about foreign influence. Either way, America's most important oil ally suddenly looked fragile. By the 1980s, America had perfected a model. Arm a dictator, use him against another. Iraq's Saddam Hussein received weapons and intelligence to fight Iran in a brutal 8-year war, even after he used chemical weapons. Meanwhile, the US sold arms to Iran in secret, funneling the profits to anti-communist rebels in Latin America. The Iran-Contra scandal. In Lebanon, US Marines were deployed as peacekeepers. In 1983, suicide bombing killed 241 American troops, one of the deadliest attacks on US forces since World War II. America was learning a new kind of warfare: proxy battles, religious militias, and urban insurgency. The region wasn't just unstable, it was explosive. In 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, a move that stunned the world. Iraq accused Kuwait of slant drilling and manipulating oil prices. But the deeper fear in Washington? That Saddam might threaten Saudi Arabia next. President George H.W. Bush launched Operation Desert Storm, a massive US-led coalition to expel Iraq from Kuwait. The war lasted 100 hours on the ground, but the impact would echo for decades. American troops stayed behind in Saudi Arabia. For many Arabs, including a wealthy Saudi named Osama bin Laden, the presence of US forces near Islamic holy sites was a provocation, a betrayal. Meanwhile, Iraq faced crushing sanctions. Saddam remained in power, brutal as ever, but his people suffered. America had won the war, but lost the narrative. September 11th, 2001. 4 planes, nearly 3,000 lives lost, and a new war began. The attackers were mostly Saudi, trained in Afghanistan, fueled by rage at American foreign policy. But Washington's response went global. First Afghanistan, then Iraq. The Bush administration claimed Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. None were found. America's dream of spreading democracy became a nightmare of occupation, insurgency, and drone warfare. In 2011, the Arab Spring offered hope. Mass protests toppled dictators from Tunisia to Egypt. But when Libya's Gaddafi threatened to crush dissent, the US and NATO intervened. Gaddafi was killed, but Libya fell into chaos. In Syria, protests turned to civil war. The US returned to war, this time from the air, supporting Kurdish forces on the ground. But by the end of the decade, America was weary. Endless wars, trillions spent, thousands dead. Presidents began pulling troops back. But the Middle East wasn't done with America. As of 2025, the Middle East remains a region in flux. New players are rising. China and Russia are filling the gaps left by American fatigue. Iran continues its regional ambitions. Israel signs peace deals with Gulf states, but war still rages in Gaza. Saudi Arabia tries to modernize, but fears remain. America's legacy? Complicated. Some say the US brought security. Others call it chaos. But no one denies its impact. From oil fields to battlefields, from kings to caliphates, the fingerprints of American policy are everywhere. The question now, will America stay out, or is the next chapter already being written?